Hello, my name is Jasmine Lee, and I am not your mama's astrologer. Welcome to the week. Whoo, this Mercury retrograde, though, you guys, it is like having to redo everything all the time, having to renegotiate your expectations all the time, having to slow it down all the time. And I don't know about you bitches, but I am an air fire lady and I do not like this vibe. And we've got these other planets in retrograde too, Saturn and Neptune, who are coming into this really big conversation that we're having astrologically this week. And Mars is getting sandwiched with some good astrology and some hard astrology. And Mars was retrograde a while ago, and Mars is tired, you guys. Mars is coming off, it's in Virgo. It's in the very last little bit of Virgo. This week, Mars is going into Libra, which is in its detriment because Mars is ruled by Aries, our warrior, our self, our barriers, and how we defend ourselves and how we stick up for ourselves and how we, have our boss ass bitch vibes. That's Mars. In Libra, though, that is ruled by Venus, it's opposite. It is forced to armor differently. And that be the vibe of this week, you guys. We need to armor ourselves differently. We need to focus. We need to slow down. And we need to find our pockets of sovereignty this week. Our pockets where we're taking timeouts. Our pockets where rest, quiet, allowing, surrendering is on the table, as well as connecting, as well as feeling connected, as well as being physical, hugging more sex, yes please, on the roster this week. More of our physicality is demanded when we're going into Mars feeling not cozy, not comfy. And Mars is a physical energy, as is Venus. Different though, opposites though. So how do we bring both to the table and ask them to play nice? So the first 2 days, there isn't a lot of crazy astrology going on. The moon is currently in Sagittarius. That's fun. It's the ability to think on our feet, to not take things so personally, to find new solutions, new philosophies, new teachings. It's a great time to learn something new, to vibe something new, to process something new, and to maybe dream and hope for something new. That's vibes. And then the moon will later move into, very different vibes. We'll move into that Capricorn place of responsibility, of what needs to get done gets done. I like that for us as Wednesday Mars moves into Libra, because we can take the emotionality out of the equation a little bit. Like the moon is on our side to say, what's the work that needs to get done here? Where are we feeling uncomfortable, and how do we positively work with that? So Libra is all about diplomacy, justice, truth, balance, partnership, and compromise. Mars ain't about that bitch, okay? She can go have a seat. So it's almost like the Mary Poppins song, "A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down." Libra be force feeding this Mars its spoonful of goddamn sugar. And whether it's going down nice or not, to be D, okay? To be decided. I don't know how it's all gonna vibe with us. That's the beauty of astrology, is that the energy is here for us to work with, but we get to choose how we're processing this energy. So when Mars is feeling frustrated in this way, feeling a little defenseless, so to speak, we need to put our boots on, guys. We need to strap in, and we need to focus. And we need to take things that come our way. It's going to be a bit of a tumultuous week to take problems, situations, tantrums, issues. Our kids might be all over the place. Our partners might be all over the place. We, God forbid, might be all over the place. And it is how then we cope with the loss of control in that way. It is how we take a timeout. It is how we take a hot minute, how we take a few extra breaths. Because Mars only has a couple of days to get used to this energy that it is very uncomfortable in. Before Friday, Mars is going to be trining Uranus, which is a positive aspect. So Mars is finally starting to wiggle, finally starting to like be okay with that change. Finally, because Uranus rules change. So Mars is starting to go with that program, but then oops, it's opposing Saturn retrograde. So calamity could ensue, or a situation, or a problem, or a lesson, because Saturn has been very thoughtful in retrograde. Saturn is in Aries in retrograde. And so it's like Mars can look at that from its Libran Venusian standpoint and think, this is uncomfortable, because the lesson that I'm reflecting on is making me uncomfortable in this Libran iteration of myself that is uncomfortable. So what do we do when our masculine and feminine have to come together to form that yin and yang inside of ourselves? How do we play with fire in that way? How do we make sure that we are nurtured as well as supplied and ready? How do we prepare more for the situations that come up in our lives that we don't have a readied solution for? That's what Friday is talking about. Friday wants us, this whole week really, wants us to work. It wants us to glean different perspective. It wants us to work smarter, not harder. So when calamity starts ensuing this week, when the lessons start piling up, when what needs to get done, what needs to get looked at, what needs to get addressed starts getting addressed, how you approach it is everything, says Libra. Libra wants to teach Mars, we don't just have to rush into battle. You can ask what time the duel starts and, pre-plan, all right? Bring a sandwich in case the other duel person isn't there yet. Bring the right gun, bring the right knife, bring the right, ammunition, bring the right armor. Don't just bring armor. Don't just show up. That's what Mars would do. They'd just show up and be like, wait, what? What's happening? I'm kind of hungry. Libra's sitting back there being like, are you hungry? I made you a fucking sandwich. You're welcome. And Mars harumphs. So this is like Mars in Libra. It's like a harumphing and a softening at the same time, because it is like the proverbial old man who is grumpy. He's grumpy because he's hungry, or he's tired, or he's in pain, or he's just been on this goddamn planet too long and he over it. That could be so too. But Libra comes in and says, great, you are feeling these new uncomfortable feelings. That's a good thing. Uranus wants us to change, and Saturn is showing us what needs to change. So get uncomfortable, bitches, because that is how we make change. We don't make change by doing the same thing ever. I promise you, if you are lamenting over a breakup, if you are sad that you did not get the job you want, if you are not looking forward to going to work in the morning, guess what's not going to change that? Doing the same thing. Doing nothing different. Not even your thoughts, not changing, not willing to move. That's what's going to create the problem this week, is attachment. Our attachment to life continuing as it was. And I got some news for you guys. This week is a very uncomfortable week, but this is a very uncomfortable year. There is so much change. There is so much. Bob might be coming to planet Earth, you guys. And if you have not watched my TikTok and my Instagram videos about Bob, highly suggest you watch my Alien Bob videos, because change, that's what is being called up and to the table. And if you aren't eating from the change table, well, this week's gonna suck ass for you, because it's just going to be uncomfortable, because you're just going to keep trying to push this rock up this same hill. That hill was never the right hill, and now the terrain has gotten rougher, and now you're refusing to allow that uncomfortability to force you, or I dare say inspire you, to go a different way. There are other ways to get to the same place. There are other modalities to find your self-growth than what you've been doing. Shocker. Spoiler alert. Not everybody does it the way you're doing it. And so when you see someone else, and social media does this to us all the time. Social media creates these beautiful pictures of other people tapping their pebbles up the hill. And here we are with our proverbial boulders feeling like shit because we don't get why they get a pebble and we get a boulder. And the truth is, with the right, techniques, with the right editing, you can make a boulder look like a pebble. Yes, you can. But also, maybe those people are doing something different that you need to look at that could help you shrink that boulder a little bit, that could help you find a clearer pathway that's not so uphill. God forbid we look deeper inside ourselves than just what's up for today. God forbid we look at our childhood dynamics, at our, blind spots, at the parts of ourselves that believe something is true that maybe isn't true, you guys. There was this really funny book that was called Lies to Tell Small Children. And one was that slugs are just snails who have been robbed from other snails. And this is hilarious. This cracks me up. This is a funny. But when you look at that in real terms, imagine how many things we were told as kids by our parents, which guess what? I am my parents' age now that they were when I was a kid. And I'm not that smart. I'm not. And so I'm sure there were loads of things that were told to me by adults that just weren't true, but I still think they're true. And it is very important this week that we be willing to see the problem more clearly, that we be willing to look at it more internally, that we be willing to move it around inside of our rib cages and viscera more fully, more completely, or differently, that we're just examining what is being called for us to do this week differently. We're coming to that gun show. We're coming to the duel with a sandwich because I can't shoot straight if I am hangry. So it's how do you prepare yourself for these big moments? How do we prepare ourselves for our big change? We spend so much time saying, I want love. I want the perfect job. I want Bob to make me famous. I really do, Bob. Come on. And what am I? What are you doing right now to set yourself up for that? If you've got answers, cool. If those answers aren't working, not so cool. So what can you do this week that is a shift, that is a swerve, that is a unexpected way to show up in this world? That's what Venus says. Venus can also be Tinkerbell, and Tinkerbell was a bitch, okay? Sometimes we need that. Sometimes Mars needs to be there with Venus for us to understand our yin and our yang, our masculine and feminine better, more completely. Sometimes we need this uncomfortability to figure out what the right solution is. And then we open ourselves up to paradox. We open ourselves up to a solution that we never saw coming, which is a miracle. And that's why I always believe that there can be miracles if we believe that they're there. There can be miracles where we choose to place them. You just sprinkle some of that Tinkerbell fairy shit over yourself and say, today's going to be a better day than yesterday, because what do you have to lose by saying that? What do you have to lose by actively trying to make that true? The best case scenario is that today will be better than yesterday. And who doesn't want that? But you have to work for it. So that's what this week is telling us. You've got to work for it. And then on Saturday, we get this big full moon in Aquarius. It's very alien vibes, dare I say, but it's also very community based. It's very for the people. It's very by the people, for the people. And so it's also innovative. Aquarius doesn't want to do it the same way. Aquarius wants other solutions. Aquarius wants this Uranus energy. It says yes to that. Yes, because if everything changed, then I would have to change. And so start looking around. How is your environment starting to change? How is the world around you starting to shift? We need to start tapping in collectively more so that we catch the same drift. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing I love more, and this is so full moon in Aquarius, opposing Leo that way, than going to a concert And it is a concert that is of a band that the entire audience knows, loves, and has been listening to for decades. And you're there and you're singing those lyrics collectively. You know, this is why I think the Grateful Dead is still so popular. It's not because they're good, because, well, sorry, spoiler alert, I don't think they're that great. It's because the vibe. Fish concerts, not that great a band. The vibe, though, stellar, because you are all there together catching a wave. So imagine if we could do that this weekend in all of this new armor that we're learning and testing out this week, this new way of being. What if we could get on the same wavelength? What if we could all go listen to music together and they were the lyrics of the songs we have been singing our whole life? And finally, we're hearing those lyrics differently because we're different, because we chose different. I love this. There is nothing more beautiful than the unwritten chapter, than the chapter that you absolutely can write if you are just brave enough to put your pen to your paper and write it. It doesn't have to be perfect, and neither do you. Nobody has to do this perfectly. We just have to do it fully. And that is what this year is asking us to do. It's asking us to engage and plug back in a way that modern culture, technology, magazines, Hollywood, all of it has taken away from us. It has stripped us of our self-worth, our self-values, and we have chosen to pray at the altar of what's cool. And as someone who has never been cool a day in my life, I will say that those pressures have nowhere to go but down. Nowhere to go but this week, this moment of saying something needs to change, because it very much does. And so Mars is experiencing all this. Mars ain't done. Now Mars is going to be opposing Neptune in retrograde in Aries. So all of the sudden, our dream space, the things that are intangible, the things that are in the works, has been in review. And now Mars is opposing it, looking at it and saying, maybe this dream isn't working out because fill in the blank. Here's your homework for the cookie, my loves. Fill in that blank for yourself. Maybe this dream of mine, fill in your dream, hasn't been working because fill in that blank. Write it down. Do it on Saturday during the full moon when this opposition happens, because there is an answer. This dream hasn't been working because. And get very honest with yourself, because if you are not putting your whole self into that dream, there's a reason it's not working. There's something it's trying to show you. And is it really the right dream? Do you need something new? Do you need something different? Do you need a new hill to push your boulder up? I don't even like hills, you guys. Like, I get exerciser's asthma. Okay. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. I'm not a push the boulder up the hill kind of lady. I am a Libra. We like our naps and our cookies and our presents. I do. And I also know in that deep Scorpio rising part of myself that I don't ever want to be a basic bitch or cool. I just want to figure it out, whatever that is for me, which is very different from whatever it is for you. I know for me, my dream is I want to help people through astrology. That's my dream. Where it's being stuck, I don't know. I'm having Bob the Alien come try it out. That's something I'm doing different. I'm doing something on my social media different because I am trying to find the solution. Because this is a very important dream of mine, this sitting here in space with you, this helping people through the stars. It's very important to me. And I'm not willing to give up on that dream. So if I'm not willing to give up on that dream, then I have to start getting uncomfortable. And I have to start saying to myself, what are some things I need to change? How do I need to be in this world to draw that into my cosmos? And that is my week of work, of how do I elevate myself so that I attract more of the people that I am very much wanting to be in contact with, like Bob. So here we are. That's Saturday. And then Sunday, Mars ain't done yet, all right? Because we get a little reward with Mars making a positive aspect trining Pluto, which is transformation. We start the week with Mars going into Libra, being uncomfortable, then going and trining Uranus, which is about big change, but then opposing Saturn, our bigger lesson, and then having that other hard opposition opposing our dream space and what we're trying to create to bring intangible to tangible, to then make a positive aspect to transforming. So we begin the week with change and we end the week with transformation. And what you do in the middle, it's on you. What you choose to do in the middle is up to you. Between change and transformation, there is a vibe, there is a thing, there is a shtick, there is heart there waiting for you. You just have to find it. And the card I pulled for this week is Fork in the Road. This is a fork in the road between you and where you want to go. You want to stay the same? You want to stay with the same people who don't treat you right? You want to stay at the same job that doesn't fulfill you? You want to stay comfortable in what you know? Well, then take that right. But if you want something new for yourself, something different, something that could change everything, I entreat you to take that left. What that left turn is for you, can't say. I know where my left turns are, and I'm taking them. And I'm taking them because what I don't know could fill the entire universe. But what I do know is that I want to be really curious about what I don't know. Thank you so much for listening. Please share, like, subscribe, find me. Help me find the other people that I'm supposed to find so that my dreams can come true too. That'd be dope. What if we were all working together to do that? Did I say that last podcast? I think I did. Ever so grateful, ever so excited to talk to you next week where things, we get a little cookie, okay? We get a little reward. So work hard this week, you guys, because come on back on Monday and I'll tell you, right on Monday, there's a beautiful reward waiting for you. And it has to do with Jupiter, and that's my favorite. Talk to you later.